G'day, Trooper Cody and Steve, 35 degrees, bloody hot, flies. We've both got fly repellent on us, and the flies, I think, find it highly edible. So we're going to give it a shot with another video about a little known battle, and it'll be interesting to see if, when you watch this, if you know about this battle that took place in World War I, this time in the Middle East. And we're going to call this battle the Battle of Darb al-Muballar. My apologies for not being very good at Arabic pronunciation, but I wonder if you've heard of that battle. So here we go. It is Good Friday, the 25th of April 1915, exactly 1 month before the Gallipoli landing. What battle? Do you know about this battle? So what it is yet again, it is men in training, thousands of men in training, bored, train, bored to death, probably a bit like old Cody is at the moment. And then on the 25th of April, Good Friday, 1915, the rumour comes around. It's on. We're going to action. At last, we're going into action. The men, many of whom have leave passes, are so excited by this news, they decide they're going in to Cairo, to an area known as Wazza, W-A-Z-Z-A, and I guess you would say, and I'll see if any people in New South Wales criticise me for this, but in Australia you would say it was the King's Cross of Cairo, perhaps the Soho of London, but whatever, Wazza was the red light district of Cairo. They were going there to party and party hard. Now what happened is, and there are various accounts of why this happened. One account is that 9 soldiers of a particular nationality that I'm not going to mention all got VD in the same brothel, and they wanted to go back and get revenge on that brothel. Another account is that a soldier had found out that his sister was being held captive in a brothel, and he wanted to go back and rescue her. Another version is that a tavern in the Wazza was caught by some Aussie soldiers with the owner standing over a vat of beer, urinating into the vat of beer. And the fourth account is that a very big, strong Maori had gone into a particular tavern simply to have a beer and had been refused service and abused by the staff and had been called the N-word. So there are the different versions about why this happened, but what did happen is that at number 8, Darb al-Muballar, which is a street, people were in the Wazza drinking, cavorting, carrying on, and the first thing that is seen is a mattress on fire flying out of a window. People turn to see what's going on, soldiers turn to see what's going on, and then they start to see clothing and bedding and other material on fire being thrown out of the window. Then they see heavy furniture being thrown out of the window and smashing on the ground. There's even a piano is seen to be thrown from the roof and smash on the ground. Then drunken soldiers start picking up the smashed items and the clothing and the bedding, and they start throwing that on the mattress, and it soon becomes a bonfire that gets bigger and bigger. All of this time, the soldiers are somewhat disgruntled anyway, because yes, soldiers are getting VD there. Yes, they are getting beaten up in back streets and robbed. They're having their pockets picked. They're being sold genuine Egyptian 1,000-year-old artefacts that are absolute rubbish, not worth a penny. They're being, the beer and alcohol is being watered down and is almost undrinkable. So enormous resentment that's been simmering away. This is the flashpoint. And very soon we have hundreds of soldiers joining in the rioting, smashing into other brothels, other bars, smashing into them, taking furniture, bringing it out and building on this bonfire more and more. There was a picket at the Wazza. The picket is a group of soldiers, who your own mates, who scored guard duty. The guard duty fell to one officer, one corporal, and 12 men that were made up of South Australians and Victorians from the 9th Light Horse. These were the men that were on picket and supposed to be patrolling the Wazza and keeping things under control. When these 14 men attempted to restore order, they weren't beaten up, but they were all disarmed, their rifles were taken off them, and their rifles were thrown onto the bonfire. At the time they did that, they had several men that they had arrested, and they were taken from them and released back into the throng. At that point, there are now thousands of soldiers rioting in the streets, premises are being smashed, properties being destroyed. The fire brigade turn up. When the fire brigade turns up, the fire brigade are attacked, hoses are cut, the heavy ends of the hoses, troops start using them as battering rams to get into some of the premises they couldn't get into. And so what now happens is 30 seasoned redcaps ride up. These are not conscripts, these are British mounted military police. These are hard men, tough, no-nonsense men. They crack skulls. 2 redcaps are expected to go into a pub in England full of drunken soldiers and break up the fight. They've got to be tough blokes. And really, if you ask my dad, who was in the British Army, forgive me, he thought they were all bastards, the redcaps. So what we have is 30 mounted redcaps turn up. They don't mess around, these blokes. And when they arrive and the officer sees how bad it is, he tells his men, draw weapons. They all have handguns, probably Webley .455 revolvers. He immediately orders them to fire over the men's head. When they fire, they become bombarded with bottles, rocks and other objects. They are under fire themselves. This officer then says, fire at the men, aim at the legs. The redcaps then fire at the rioters. It's recorded that 5 Australian soldiers were shot in the leg, wounded when this happened. But the result is the rioters charge the redcaps with their pistols drawn, shooting at them, and they force those redcaps to withdraw, and the rioting continues. At some point here, Charles Bean has arrived and starts to make notes about what he sees. Some soldiers are trying to break it up, some officers are trying to desperately restore order. If you've seen my other videos about Trooper Bluegum, you know that Trooper Bluegum wrote under that pseudonym because he was an officer and couldn't write under his own name. Trooper Bluegum was there, he's recorded what he saw, and things were out of control and desperate. And so, how did it all end? When things are this chaotic, when a second group of soldiers arrive with a fire engine, and that group of soldiers is beaten off and the fire engine's wrecked and the fire brigade personnel are driven off. When it's this bad, how can it end? The only way it ended was at 10 o'clock at night, a battalion of the Lancashire Territorials arrive. The officer forms the Territorials into 3 ranks. He orders them to fix bayonets. About this time, these soldiers that are rioting have been shot at, some have been wounded. They now see an entire battalion facing them. They see that 3 ranks are formed. They see that bayonets are fixed. The officer then gives the instruction for the men to middle rank kneel, front rank lie. Now they have 3 ranks of a battalion facing them with fixed bayonets, and the officer calls aim. At that point, common sense finally prevails, and before an order is, who knows, would he have done it or wouldn't he? But before the order is given to fire, it is seen there's significant dispersal going on. The troops drift away, the riot's over, and the Battle of the Muballar is over. And 1 month later, many of those same blokes are fighting and dying as they land on the beaches of Gallipoli. Alright, maybe we've told you about another story you might not have known about the First World War, and Cody's seriously over this, so we're going to call it quits there. Thanks for watching. Give Cody a pat over the social airwaves. He's a good lad. We'll be back. Share this around. Cheers. Till next time. Thank you.